everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Geeking Out podcast. I am the Athletic Geek, joined this week by
Organoid Zero, baby. Woo!
Woo! And for this episode, we are going to talk about anime, our favorite animes. And this is going to be a very interesting episode for me because I'm trying to think of the right way of putting this. I I don't know if you'd call me a casual anime fan because casual to me makes it seem like you you aren't passionate about any form of it.
The weird
But
thing with anime is you can be passionate about it and still be a casual person. Because,
yes,
in the grand scheme of things, have seen a good chunk of anime, but I would still consider myself casual. Because I have friends where seasonal anime, there's 8 animes going at once and they're watching all of them every
yeah,
episode. Those people are
I have the
just
same
born
thing.
different.
Yes, I mean, but like the anime that I love, I love. You know,
Yes.
I'd
Yep.
say like anime to me is like college football or
There you go.
or MLB baseball. Like, I have the Cardinals, and that is my team, and I love that team. But that's about it. But the only difference between anime and baseball is like I'm not gonna like want to go out and become a fan of like the Phillies
Yes.
or the Yankees or the Marlins. Whereas with anime, like I'm more willing to watch and get into
Mm-hmm.
other anime. And I think for me, the anime I'm most passionate about, the one that I love the most, is Cowboy Bebop.
It's a good one to be passionate about.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that series so much.
Did you know that originally flopped in Japan?
I did not know that.
I was watching an interview with Steve Blum where it kind of just got shoved at the lower not known studio that he was working at because it didn't do well in Japan. It actually exploded because of the English dub.
Really, I did
Yeah,
not know that.
I didn't know that till recently either.
Wow, that's kind of funny for another anime we're going to talk about later that I'm extremely passionate about. But
Mm-hmm.
like most, you know, millennial Americans that like anime, I discovered this through Adult Swim.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. Pardon me. Um,
Oh, good.
and I remember it was like when Adult Swim first came around in 2001. There was one anime, and it was on at the very end of the block, and it was Bebop. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch it as much then, but then they had the because I kind of caught it right in the middle. I'm like, this looks cool, but and
I don't know what's
and
going on.
fortunately for Bebop, a lot of episodes are very self-contained, so like you can get into it. But then there are some parts where I'm like, okay, I don't really understand what's going on. And it was towards the end of the series, so I'm like, But then, fortunately, not long after uh, I discovered it was when they had the Adult Swim anime on Saturday nights.
Yes.
That the first in 2002, the first anime block,
Mm-hmm.
and it was part of that. And I think like in week 2 or 3 or something, like it started with session 1 all over again. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Now we're locked in.
So yeah, we were locked in. Love that show so much. Spike is just so cool. Like I want to like. How can you not love Spike? And it's a very it's an anime that I remember I mentioned 2002, so I was seventh grade going into eighth grade in 2002, and um, that was kind of like the first show that really made me okay with being able to watch a tragedy.
Yeah.
You know, you when that series ended, you didn't feel good.
No.
Like
No.
I mean, like you respected the story, like you loved the story that was told, but you didn't feel good. You know, Spike, spoiler alert if you've
Spoiler
never
alert,
seen it,
everyone.
but but uh Spike dies, and it's like, and then before that, Ed leaves, and then later on in the episode, you find out Faye realized who she was, and then had nowhere else to go but back to the Bebop, you know,
Yeah.
um, and like that, but it's still tied up pretty well. Everything you want to know because you're wondering what happened with Faye, all that, everything got tied up, but you weren't like you didn't feel happy about it, and it's just you know
I know I get what you're saying. It's one, and that happens in anime a lot more than most mediums, where they're not afraid to kind of just kick you clean in the teeth at the end of it.
right.
And it is something that I've come to appreciate, the artistic
Yes.
endings where it's not always all tightly nice and wrapped in a bow. Some realistic shit happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, like, there's two different ways of having, like, we're going to get to that with another one that I want to talk about later.
Yep.
But, like, it was just the visuals, the music, the lore that they create within Cowboy Bebop of, you know, space colonizing, but not like Gundam where it's like a war, like
Yeah.
they're space colonizing.
A lot less child soldiers.
Yeah, right. um, um, and well, like one of the things, like I mentioned, like they create like a good lore. I talked about baseball earlier. Like there's like an episode where they talk about how there's like baseball teams like from the different planets, and it's like okay, like they've created their own like nice world there, with
Absolutely, yes.
everything there. And there's a bounty hunting so big. There's a literal TV show about bounty hunting, and I guess we should have started with this. I kind of got way ahead of myself,
No,
but
you're all
for
good.
those that have never seen Cowboy Bebop, it is the story of bounty hunters. It is the story of. It starts with, uh, Spike Spiegel and Jet Black, and they're two bounty hunters. Spike is a former uh, mobster, and Jet is a former cop. And they just decide that, well, they got disgusted with how things were working both in the police force and organized crime, and decided, okay, well, we're going to meet up, and we're going to use our skills of being able to, you know, subdue to make money. And then along the line, they meet Faye Valentine, who's like a wanderer, for lack of a better way of putting it. And she doesn't know about her past. And uh, the funny thing is about Faye is like she came from our time. Like it later, there's a whole episode where Faye gets a VHS cassette tape, and they're all going like, "What is this? How do we play this?" And they like search through this whole thing to find a VCR to watch it.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's primitive technology here, which, it's things we call VHS primitive technology now. But, in 2002, I was still recording these with VHS tapes from Cartoon Network on Adult Swim. So it's like, but, it is what it is. You have Ein, a Welsh Corgi, hyper intelligent dog, which I love Ein. If I ever get a Corgi, I'm naming it Ein. And then you have Ed, a child. It's probably like the most child presence you have in the show, which is different for a lot of anime because a lot of anime is children. Um, and Ed, which despite the traditionally masculine name, is a female. And she is a really smart hacker that helps the crew. And it's just, there's maybe, I'd say, it's a great series, but every episode's self-contained except for like, I mean, you have the ones where they introduce the new characters, so you need to watch, the only ones that like really flow together. You got the two episodes where they introduce Faye, the episode where they introduce Ein. But that was before Faye. But Ed. So there's four. You have The three vicious episodes
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the series. You have one where they explain Jet's past, one where they explain Faye's past with the VHS that we talked about.
Yep.
Um, in the last 3 episodes, so 12 episodes are like the bulk of it. Like, or if you watch those, you got the whole series, but everything in between was still really well done. You get attached to characters that are only around for one episode, you know, which is
Absolutely.
really cool, and it speaks to how good of a show that is because you can get attached to characters that are only around for an episode or you know 2 episodes. Um, it's just a beautiful series. There's nothing I can really say that can hype up that series even more, except for if you have never seen Cowboy Bebop, you owe it your get get the free 1 week trial of Crunchyroll and
Yep.
just watch Bebop for no other reason. It's risk free. It's risk free.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know you and me both gone to plenty of cons and stuff. The guy who voices Spike, Steve Bloom,
Oh
is
yeah, he's
one of
amazing.
the most prepared con experiences I've had in my life. You
Yeah.
know, you go up to a voice actor, they've got like one or two things. Steve, when I went up to him, had a baseball card binder full of almost every role he'd ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And then the girl, like, anyone you want in there, he's got. I'm like, what? And then I look behind her, and there's like 10 gray totes full of like every character he's
Yep.
ever done. Good lord. It's
You know,
unreal.
and to give people context on Steve Bloom and just how prolific he is. So he was Spike, the main character from Cowboy Bebop. He, if you watch Toonami, if you're familiar with anime at all, and your viewing came from watching Toonami after
Yep.
schools, he was Tom
Tom.
for most of the time. You know, there was one time where it wasn't him, but um, he was Tom. Um, he does Wolverine now in most
Yeah.
of the video games and any like newer
Yep.
animated movies. So he's Wolverine.
Tank
Um,
Dempsey in the Call of Duty
yeah,
games.
he's Tank Dempsey,
Uh,
and he's somebody else. But again, I'm saving that one for later. He's Guilmon from Digimon. Um,
oh, yeah, yeah, he is. Tokato man.
uh, he's
He's a lot of things.
Yeah, he's a lot, and he has such good range because like everybody like kind of makes fun of him for being like because he's got like one voice that you recognize, like
That's
in
the
his
one he has
regular
to do the
voice.
most.
Yeah, that's the one he does the most is just like his regular voice. But then you'll have Wolverine where he like just does his voice and he's raspy,
Yeah.
but then you'll see Guilmon where he's like really young and innocent and it like does it, and then he's Leron from Gurren Lagann, which is not. I mean, I enjoy the show. I haven't seen it all yet, but Leron, which if you end up watching that, Leron and Spike are two completely different ends of the
That was
spectrum.
what made me realize his range because I was like, "Who the hell voices him?" And I saw the credits. I'm like, "That's Steve Bloom."
Yeah, and the and I'm not. I don't want to give because again I'm not no expert on Gurren Lagann, but the big line that he always does for if you ask him to do Leron is when you screw it in, give it a hard manly twist.
Twist. The best part, I saw a video at a con where people asked him to do Spike lines as Leron. It was one of the funniest things I've
Oh
ever
shit.
seen.
But that's one of my favorite. What's some of your favorites?
You just mentioned it, Gurren Lagann. I know we might have talked about it before, but I have Simone, older and younger here. I literally just got Kamina and Yoko recently. This whole arm is going. This is a. I had 2 points in my life where I got to a very not good place, and this anime kind of like not exaggerating saved my life at a point. For
Yeah.
people that don't know, it is a mech show that starts off super tiny. This kid named Simone is just a tunnel digger to expand these underground societies that no one has seen the surface except for Kamina, Simone's blood brother, who swears his dad has been up there and his dad brought him down here and he knows the surface is real and everyone else is lying. So while he's digging around, he finds the core drill and then he eventually finds Logon. this little itty bitty just face in a wall. And then eventually they're trying to break their way out and they get stopped. And then they're like, there's nothing up there. It's a bunch of lies. And then all of a sudden, giant thing comes crashing through. And it's this gunman that can barely move from left to right. A gunman is a mech. And then hop downs, hot girl in bikini with sniper rifle, Yoko Littner sliding in, blasting away at this. You get introduced to your main three characters. You learn very quickly what their archetypes are going to be, for the most part, at the start. And then you get through the first episode and it expands and you see that like the earth isn't a ravenous hellscape, it's normal, it like looks beautiful, and you get this amazing wide shot of where you can see the moon and the sun on both ends, and it's gorgeous. And then it just starts them discovering why things got this way, how they got this way, what the rules are, where they need to figure out to like liberate people that live underground. And one thing that I love about it so much is that I'm a person that has giant self-esteem and confidence issues,
Mm-hmm.
and I identify with Simone quite a bit in this show, who was voiced by the great Yuri Lowenthal. He's some of the best. But so throughout the show, how much of Gurren Lagann have you seen?
I've only seen they're on the channel because I used to, before COVID hit, and did a lot of anime watch-alongs, and I was into it. I'd say like maybe first 4 or 5 episodes, maybe.
Okay, then I'm going to shut up because there's a giant spoiler that happens in episode 8. So, and I'm not going to ruin it. But one big thing that happens, or that I love about this show, is that boosting up your friends and making them realize the value that they have and having confidence in people. Like, it's shown very early on that one of the coolest things I love about the show is that the mech that Simone and Kamina ride, that eventually becomes Gurren Lagann, they get a total mech together with the head and that, is that it is driven by the willpower of the driver. It won't work if you do not believe in yourself. And the more you believe in yourself, the more powerful the machine gets. And it powers your creativity, create weapons like drills and stuff that he uses. It shows that the more, like, you can do literally anything if you believe in yourself in the show.
It's kind of, and correct me if I'm kind of getting a different, like, misinterpreting. It's almost like a Green Lantern in that sense.
Oh, it is very close to that, except just only with drills.
Okay.
It's very close to that. Absolutely. It's very close to that. It's creating it out of sheer willpower and then forming it into things, but it's more to this. But it's very close to Green Lantern. You're 100% correct.
Okay.
And then the relationship between Kamina and Simone is the thing that I like the most out of it. Because you get this relationship where Kamina is a giant blowhard that will talk all of the trash on the planet because he knows that Simone is going to back it up. But in the start, Simone thinks that, he's just some loser that Kamina keeps around because no one else will like him and whatever. And as the show goes on, you start to learn that Kamina knows he's not good at any of this. He's just the guy that makes the plans and acts tough because he knows that Simone isn't at that point yet to believe in himself. And eventually, Simone comes to learn that I was doing good, bro was just helping me get there. And eventually, like, he goes through this giant arc of becoming his own person, and he learns to try and be the best version of himself and not trying to be Kamina. Which is the thing that Kamina was trying to teach him throughout the entire show, is that you're an amazing person, you just cannot see it yet. And I am going to drag you kicking and screaming until you do. But you mentioned earlier, legitimately one of my favorite characters in all of anime, period, is Leron Littner. I can't even, when I saw him pop on screen, this is early in times, people. This anime came out in, I want to say it was 2008. This was before a lot of these things were there. So seeing a transgender cross-dressing mechanic show up was something different. And I'm like, what in the world is... And I fell in love with him within minutes.
Yeah.
And he's just the best. And It's like he's the smart guy that knows everything, and he's not afraid to creep the kids out and be a weirdo every now and then. He's just fucking funny. But and then you also got things like with Yoko, to where she starts out as described as everyone as a piece of tits and ass, but eventually finds out she's more than that. A lot of the show is figuring out who the real you is, and being
Yeah,
confident in realizing that you are who you are, and who you are is amazing. And that helped me through so much stuff.
yeah,
I also, you talked about watching anime in the mid 2000s. I started watching anime because of Toonami.
right.
And
Same.
coming home from school, and then it was Dragon Ball Z, Zoids, and oh shoot, Inuyasha. But like Zoids got me started on loving mechs.
Right.
This show is a mech anime, but it's the one where I can suggest to people, to where I'm like, yeah, there is some unbelievably kick-ass mech fights in it. But the best part about it is the dialogue and the character stuff that happens in the background. And that's one thing that this director, who ended up starting a new studio afterwards, was really, really good at. So I can't mention enough how much I love this thing. Like, I've got it tattooed. I've got that. I know at one point we were going to talk about best Comic Con finds, but like, I've never spent more on a Blu-ray set than I did on this. For
You
people who
have to
don't,
almost.
yeah, for people that don't know, trying to buy anime collector editions is not cheap, because
No.
Aniplex made that really hard.
Yes.
But
Actually, I
a lot of
remember.
things go into it. But
So you mentioned like this. This is sidebar. It's our weekly big sidebar.
yep,
But this one's more on topic than our one last week was. Um, so when I, mentioned anime fandom, we probably should
yeah,
start with this, but who cares?
it's all
Um,
good.
so like there was levels, to kind of get me into anime. Like the first anime I saw was Speed Racer.
Oh wow,
Like
okay,
like just
nice.
like from being in syndication,
Yeah,
and then from there, Kids WB. There was Pokemon. There was Card Captors, which I later
yep,
found out was just the American version of it. In Japan, it's Card Captor Sakura.
yeah,
Um, and then eventually I got on my cable Cartoon Network and then found Toonami and I was watching Toonami because of Superman the animated series. But then
oh
like
yeah,
before that you have Dragon Ball Z, you know, Zoids like you mentioned, a lot of really good stuff. Gundam Wing. Um and then from there, the Adult Swim kicked in and all the different ones. So summer of 2002, I was 12, going to turn 13 years old, and that was in the days of uh, the big thing in before social media was just creating your own like easy website from GeoCities or EXPage or something like that. And this is a true story.
oh god,
I made a one of the two. I can't even remember if it's GeoCities or EXPage. It was a very bare bones, basic. You go back and laugh at just how basic of a website that is, with pictures and like, here's my favorite anime and here's pictures of them. And this is gonna transition into the next anime I want to talk
okay.
about. There was a picture from like our screen capture I found of Big O. So that's
Oh,
gonna be the
okay,
next one that we're gonna talk
nice.
about. But uh, put a picture of the Big O and like all the stuff on from Big O, and I'm like, oh, cool. I found that, put it on there, and then one day I because and this is how stupid I was at the time. I put my email address on the website,
Yeah.
and I go to check my email, my Hotmail account, and I see something from Sunrise.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my god, this is so awesome! I'm getting, I've never emailed Sunrise. I've never done anything, but like, this is from Sunrise. This is so cool, and we are here to inform you that the picture that you have put on there is a copyrighted picture.
Ah,
We are asking you to take that picture down, or we will be forced to take action. But not, that includes, but it's not limited to legal
good
legal action
lord.
for financial or shutting down your website. And it's just all this, and I'm just like,
Take a
so
picture.
yeah, and
Good lord.
I remember, like, how did they find me? Like,
Exactly.
like it was like elation. Like, Sunrise found me. To Sunrise found
Found
me.
me.
um, but that is the transition to one of my other favorites. Sticking with Steve Bloom, all three we've talked about have had Steve Bloom in it. Big O. And it's funny you mentioned that Cowboy Bebop flopped in Japan, and then the West is what essentially made it have popularity. Big O flopped in Japan, so much so to where there was no conclusion, none whatsoever after season one. Like that was it. And I was watching that show on Toonami. I love the show. It's like it's. I'll actually give background before I get bigger into it. If you've never seen Big O, there's this city called Paradigm City, and there was an event that happened 40 years ago that made everybody lose their memory. And then they rebuilt, and it became essentially there's different domes that enclose, the big city and the wealthy or more well-to-do people. And there's this guy named Roger Smith who his job is he is the top negotiator in Paradigm City. He will negotiate any dispute, and he will succeed. Like that is his thing. Like I will succeed in your negotiation. Um, he controls a big mechanized robot called the Megaduce or the Big O, who helps stop some of these crimes with other mechs. And then he finds an android from his first negotiation in the first episode, and then you just fall down the rabbit hole of the different people he meets in Paradigm City and what goes on, what are the hints to what happened in the past. And it was a really great anime in season one. And another thing is like it's almost it's like it's Batman. It's like Batman with robots. Roger Smith is Bruce Wayne. He has he has an English butler. Everything. And then it just ends. And the Western fans are like, "What the hell?" And through emailing Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, they were able to email Sunrise in Japan and go, you have a market, and they really want to have a conclusion to this series. So 2 years after Big O concluded in the United States, Big O came back with 13 new episodes. There's 13 season 1, 13 season 2, 13 new episodes to put somewhat of a conclusion on there, and it was really good. It was, this was one was on Toonami, and still for after school push some envelopes, not real hardcore, but still kind of like okay, it's not your typical after school anime. Pokemon, this is not. Yu-Gi-Oh, this is not. But not like hardcore pushing the envelope. But then Adult Swim comes around, and it didn't get really hardcore, but the gloves were off, and they could really tell a more adult-oriented story with it. And then it just got confusing as fuck.
Oh god. Oh,
It just
no.
got like I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. So it's like Big O is like the yin and yang of my anime fandom. I love it. I love the characters. I love the fact that we as fans were able to, rise up and get a conclusion to something that we loved and we were left hanging with. And you know, we were, I'm happy I got a better conclusion in 2003 than I had after finishing it up in 2001.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you mentioned a weird ending. Cowboy Bebop made me at peace with like a tragic ending. But Big O made me go like, okay, I still want something. I want more conclusion than this. What the hell?
Yeah.
It's almost like the Truman Show. It became like it was revealed that it was more like the Truman Show.
Okay. Really?
I still advise checking it out because it is a good series.
Yep.
And it is well worth checking out. But be forewarned.
Yeah, that is the unfortunate thing with anime.
Yeah.
That the more you look into the ones that you're like, I might like that, whatever. Be prepared that there is a legit 50-50 chance that show didn't get finished, depending on
Yes.
what year it aired.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, that's that's
it is
unfortunate.
what it is. Like I could still look back on season one, and I got something.
Yeah,
I got
absolutely.
something, but
Oh, absolutely.
at the end of the day, it's like I would have liked one more. I'll be great, but can you give me one more season to explain that a little better?
Just one
Just
more.
one more. It doesn't have to be a full season. Like give me like 6 episodes and just make me figure it out a little bit better.
Absolutely. Oh no, I get you. I get you 100%. That's the joy with anime. They like to
That
make
is,
things
yeah,
weird. It has to be different.
yeah. But I believe you got more.
Oh, I do. So speaking of different, I was rolling between two options, and I'll get to the other one because it's a very basic bitch answer that everyone says. But my other big one that I've watched the most of is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
So I just got into. I read the first volume of the manga at the our real estate agent that we had when we bought this house. Like said, like you need to read JoJo, and I read the first volume, and then when the dog gets tortured, I'm like, I can't read this anymore. There's a torturing of a dog. Like you want to
It
hurt me, harm a dog, and you get me like, well, I think you're a bad guy, but I may not read it or I may not watch it. I'm like, you hurt the dog. I can't do
it
that.
it is a it was the John Wick thing before John Wick. So like this anime came out in like the later aughts of the 2000s. This like anime had five series worth of it done by like the 90s. It took forever for these anime adaptations to get out. And it's building Dio up. This is the guy who did that, Dio Brando, to be the most despicable dickhead on the planet. Like, he does everything. He steals Jotaro's girlfriend's first kiss just to be a dickhead. Like, all of this.
Yeah,
Now, most people will say that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure really starts with part 3, because
yeah.
that's where you get stands. I don't know if you know what stands are.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay, so I won't spoil what it all goes into. What I
Just
will
spoiler. Is there any more dog torture? You can spoil that.
no, there's no more dog torture. There's a dog that gets a stand later on.
Okay.
But there's no more dog torture. They literally do that to make you realize how much of a just absolute asshole he is. There's no more dog torture.
Okay.
But the first two, they have this thing called Hamon, which it's basically channeling sunlight energy through like attacks and things like that. And this every part you get a different Joestar member of their lineage. Like 2 is Jonathan's son, and then next in season 3 it's Jotaro, and then you find out later on that that's Joseph's kid or Joseph's grandson, and then you find out that in part 4 he actually had an affair, so there's another kid that you keep track of and find later. But it's an anthology series that still kind of keeps track and characters moving forward, but you can, without losing too much detail, you can watch most of the parts separately.
Okay.
But obviously it has characters showing up, but it follows the Joestar family on this just adventure of figuring out what stands are. They get different powers, and like it was Hamon at first, obviously, but it's the definition of ridiculous. And you would be upset if it wasn't ridiculous once you start watching the show, because it. Like
What
I
episode
said,
is the dog torture so I can skip it?
oh man, I think it's like episode 3.
Okay, so
It happens right away, and they get it right out. And honestly, it takes like it's 10 seconds.
I can't
And
watch that though. Like that is
oh no,
like
no, I get you 100%. And like they don't even, I don't remember what it is in the manga, but they basically just tell you what he did in the show. And it's not like you're excruciatingly watch something happen. But anyway, it's basically Dio's like just hatred for this Joestar family.
yeah.
And
I mean, it's a good. They do a good job because like I'll never respect a character that did that. But on the
no,
flip side, it's like one of those. I
we
have
don't do
choices in
that.
life,
Yeah, no,
and not seeing that is a choice I can make.
yeah. It can skip, but other than that, everything's great. And then the show was made by a Japanese guy that has an unbelievable love for Western music.
Hmm.
So like you see that that Joseph meets this guy named Robert E.O. Speedwagon, and it becomes one of his best friends. And then later on, when you get to the stands, which they call them stands because it's like a ghost-like entity that stands next to you.
Okay.
And eventually all of they start out being named as tarot cards, but eventually they become being called by musicians and other things like that, and like characters are named after musicians. And it gets really awkward when you watch it in the anime because they were okay to use this in the manga, but when you put it into the visual medium, they had to change some of the names for rights issues. So
Okay.
like everyone's favorite one that they like to point out is that in part what is it, 7, there is a stand called D4C, or Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Or in and then it's and then it turns into Filthy Acts Done at a Reasonable Price.
That's like broken.
But and then like
Did Broken Matt Hardy change these?
but it's like it's what they had to do to make them
I
just close enough.
yeah.
But like bad company becomes worst company. King Crimson or like Crimson or Killer Queen becomes, oh, I can't remember what it is, but like Diamond, oh shoot, Crazy Diamond becomes Shining Diamond. Like there's some that aren't big switches, but then there's one that's like D4C where you're like, what am I even doing with this one? Like we have to almost redo the whole freaking thing. But the abilities and just the stupidness that entails in it, where like one of the stands that they meet in part 3 is you eventually age backwards if you step into this thing's shadow. That's the entire thing. That's it. And then they have to figure out a smart way to deal with this thing without like counteracting and doing it's a big battle of wits of stuff of like not normal things where the writer will write himself into a hole he has to bury himself out of.
Huh.
And it's very kooky. And later on he tried to make it almost harder for himself as it went along. And there comes parts where like in part 4 and how they use these stands creatively. Like in part 4, this guy has a stand. It's originally called Crazy Diamond, but the song you can't say that, so now it's Shining Diamond. And its ability is to heal things, but in healing, it's actually reconstructing. So, like, say if you're chasing down a car and you broke a headlight off of it, the stand could grab the headlight and then it would guide itself by healing it to where the original car was to reconstruct it. So like you would use its abilities in weird ways to figure stuff out. Or like there was a stand that could turn itself into water, and it gets into this same character's mom, and is gonna drown her. And he realizes this, so he grabs a glass. And I got how the fuck he does this. And you can essentially go through a person with a stand and then like phase back out of him if you do it correctly. So he basically grabs this bottle, breaks it, sends it through her, grabs the guy with it, and then reforms it and heals it, and then has the thing trapped in it. So it's using stuff in creative ways to get around other things. And like Jolene Cujo in part 4, she has a stand that's essentially mostly string, but she can hear things and she can dial up people through Morse code by wheeling this string around somewhere, and they can feel the Morse code through the string of this stand. So they use some really cool stuff. It's really goofy, but it's really heartfelt when you get later on because it's all following through this family as it goes along, and it's just you turn into how stupid it is at points. It's just dumb fun. It's such dumb fun. And if you know you like it, with JoJo, there's not a you kind of like JoJo. It's either you
Right.
love it or you don't watch it.
Right.
But yeah, it's really good. And they still got 2 parts. The guy's writing another one. I think he's like 67, but he looks younger than me. I don't know what's going on with his. I swear he drinks like virgin goat milk or something. I don't know what he does, but he's unreal.
Well,
It's a great show. Anyone who's just up for some just off the wall stupidity with good family moments, watch JoJo.
Okay. Well, my next one is like the most basic, and I mean like basic you could ask for. Other than
FMA,
okay, what in anime?
FMA, Full Metal Alchemist.
That's actually, I mean, that's not what I was going to talk about. But like, you want to talk about something that turned me off again, like just like JoJo. I was into that anime
Until
until
the Chimera, right?
I, the Chimera. I went, but then like I kept watching. No, when Hughes died. Spoiler.
Oh, Hughes, yeah.
When they had Hughes, it wasn't just Hughes dying; it was showing his daughter at the funeral. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I can't bring myself to watch this anymore. Like, fuck this
Yeah.
show. Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm a wimp. I don't care.
That's one big thing with anime in general. They're not afraid to be
Oh no.
like that. So it's one of those things where if you're not into stuff like that, it can really deter you from certain stuff in shows.
Like, I mean, I can objectively say, well written. Like, how do you like? He is the most likable character in that show, and you kill him, and if you want people to feel his death, you're showing his daughter, you know. But I remember just like her crying, well, why are they putting dirt on my dad? My dad's got to go to work, and they're putting dirt on my dad, and I'm like,
Yep.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if that didn't happen, if that didn't turn me off earlier, that did. I'm just like
Yep.
like I was one of those like I went from binging the fuck out of it to like I'll get back to it eventually, and eventually has been 13 years. So yeah.
I get you.
But when I talk about basic, it's kind of the one that it's the anime that everybody likes. Dragon Ball,
Yep.
Dragon Ball Z,
Yep.
now into Super.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And like I said, it's Dragon Ball Z. It's the progression is very good.
Yep.
You know, but what was also funny about that is I watched Dragon Ball Z before I watched Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball Z came to America on Toonami before Dragon Ball did.
Yep, absolutely. I had no idea Dragon Ball existed. I thought it was just Z.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
But it is a great show. You know, it is more than just. You know, I know a lot of anime snobs will kind of downplay DBZ because it is kind of it is basic
at points.
Yeah, and it's basic at some point. It is just fighting. You know, like it can be deep. It can be, you can have great moments like, the Cell Saga. All those like you can have those great, those big, deep, cool moments. But I get it. It is kind of basic. It is one of those. I mentioned last week, toxic wrestling fans. A really hardcore, deep, toxic wrestling fan who likes, Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Zack Sabre Jr. and all the 5-star bangers. When you go, hey, I like John Cena.
Yeah,
they're gonna side eye you, like oh, okay, like, oh, not to talk, not talk wrestling with this guy because he likes John Cena.
Pebbles, thanks.
Yeah, like what kind of fan's this guy? And it's not, kind of with anime, like some of the hardcore, like yeah, I like Dragon Ball Z. It's like, okay, yeah, have fun,
Did you comes with that though is that. And I don't think you're this way, is it typically a lot of what ruins Dragon Ball for people is a lot of their fans. Because you'll run...
Oh, I will concede...
Like, Goku can kill anyone!
Yes!
Your guy sucks!
Oh, yeah, like, have a... I like Superman. Goku could kill him, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
That's hey, I like Batman. Goku would just murder him. So I get that. I get it,
yeah.
But it is still like it's a comfort show. It is like,
Absolutely.
It is a comfort show. If I want to go back and watch and just enjoy myself, okay, I'm gonna go back and watch the Frieza saga and watch them kick Frieza's ass. Yeah. I'm gonna go back and watch the Android saga. Just different stuff like that. My favorite arc in all of Dragon Ball lore, and this is one that's gonna really make people look at me weird, but my favorite arc in Dragon Ball lore was Goku's first World Martial Arts tournament, where he fought Master Roshi in disguise.
Oh, okay.
Like that was one. Like I don't know what it is about it, but like that's like my favorite.
It
My
is still
favorite
good.
arc. Like it's not as epic, obviously, as Frieza or Cell or Boo or I haven't even seen all of Super. I actually made the decision to read the mangas instead of read the mangas first before getting into Super,
Okay.
just to you know. But so I haven't really seen all of Super yet. But but
One
that's my
second. Do you know who the character Goku Black is?
yes.
The English dub has one of the funniest things ever to be committed to film. There's this point where they're trying to find Goku Black, but they all of a sudden these soldiers find Goku, and you just hear, I want to say it's Trunk in the background, go, "Stop! Don't shoot him! That man is not black!" That's the official English dub.
Well, it's been a great 2 weeks, folks. I think we're canceled now.
It's well known. That thing is well known amongst Dragon Ball fans as being one of the worst dubs in history. That moment, they're like, it was all translation, man. That's what we had to work with. I had to mention it. I piss myself laughing every time I think about it.
Oh my god. Oh god.
I love it. And I'm like, that's a fan dub. And then they're like, no, that's the real thing. I'm like, huh?
Oh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. Oh. Oh my god. Oh, jeez. So anyway,
on with your story, Master Roshi.
Yeah. So they build up, Master Roshi's training Goku and Krillin, for the World Martial Arts Tournament. Again, it's a basic story, but it's one of those. He tells them everybody, like now, remember, you're not there to win, you're there to learn. You're not, you can't win right now. If you win, you're not going to try to grow to get stronger. And that's a theme of getting stronger through all of Dragon Ball Z, everything, getting stronger, getting better. So Goku makes it to the finals, and there's a guy named Jackie Chun, which is Master Roshi in disguise as Jackie Chun.
Right. I forgot.
And he is also in the tournament, and his goal is to win it so he needs to keep Goku humble at this point. But still, whenever you're young and you're watching, you don't want Goku to win. You want Goku to win because he's Goku and he's young Goku. And they have an epic battle. Goku turns into the Great Ape during one of the battles. They fight to a point where they get to such a bad point to where they're both doubled down, and the winner has to get up and say that they're declare themselves the champion. And Goku gets up and goes, "I am the champ," and passes out. And then Jackie Chun gets up and immediately just goes, "I'm the champion!" And then he wins. I remember just being like, first time seeing it as a kid, I'm just like, "Oh, he lost."
Yeah.
But the theme of trying to get stronger. He was there to learn. He was there to test his skills, not be the winner. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for that, Goku wouldn't have been driven to train as hard as he did to become Super Saiyan 2 and 3 and 4 and Blue and God and who knows what else. I'm not that far in Super yet. Yeah. So that's something that gets overlooked a lot because, you do have the big kick-ass battles with the Saiyans, and it's over 9,000, and you have the Frieza and the Cell, and Boo's hit and miss with me, and we're just not
Yeah.
going to talk about GT, um, but it's still a great show, and yes, it is the basic show. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Just like a wrestling fan that likes John Cena or likes Cody Rhodes, like it doesn't matter because
Yeah,
you're supposed to enjoy it, you know, and
absolutely.
you can enjoy John Cena and Cody Rhodes just as much as you can enjoy Kenny Omega and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah.
You can enjoy Dragon Ball Z as much as you can enjoy, something like Bebop for me, or JoJo in your case.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Speaking of Bebop, by the way, I almost forgot. You should watch Black Lagoon.
Okay, I haven't
Black
seen that one
Lagoon.
yet, so
Black Lagoon is another. It's a made fictional city, and I want to say it's supposed to be. I can't remember exactly where it is, but called Roanapur, where it's all different crime families. Like there's a Japanese crime syndicate, a Russian crime syndicate, and then you have this group of people, kind of like the Bebop, but they're the Lagoon Company, that get into these shenanigans that kind of just show life in this code of other people.
interesting.
But that's one I think you'd like quite a bit since you like Bebop a lot. But
Is
um,
there anything that's you have any more you want to talk about? No, we
oh,
could. This could be a 4-hour episode.
yeah, I got one more. I'll get one more. And I'm bringing this up because you said that you can be kind of a wimp as crying at things. I will tell you the anime that literally ripped my heart clean out of my chest. There's two of them. One is Angel Beats, but there's a lot of. It's only a 13 episode show that I basically have to spoil the whole thing to tell you everything that goes into it.
Right.
But that show, in the last, I kid you not, 30 seconds, ripped my heart clean out of my chest. There
Damn.
is a needle drop at the last minute of that show that just kills you. But Violet Evergarden is the one I'm going to talk about now. That it is a thing about this girl named Violet, who is this girl that got dropped off, who is just a child soldier essentially, that was trained to be in war, and then this lieutenant gets a hold of her, and he kind of wants to get her out of this. He tries to show her what an actual life is, and she doesn't understand feelings. Is the best way I can put it. Like at one point, this guy tells her that he loves her, and she doesn't
Hmm.
understand what the hell love means.
Hmm.
Like she hasn't had a growing up where she needed to know what emotions meant. She's very robotic, answers very robotically because she hasn't had a chance to live a normal life. And then this guy dies,
Hmm.
and she gets shipped off to the Evergarden household, and she becomes what is called an auto memory doll. Why they call them this, I have no idea. It's just a notary. Why they call them auto memory dolls, no idea. But she gets a job writing letters for people. And the point through this is that throughout the show, you are experiencing things with Violet. The show isn't exactly driven by Violet, but it's driven by Violet experiencing stuff through other people's perspectives. She's kind of learning off of other people that are the main character of that episode. So, and then through all this, she learns like what trust is. And through that, she becomes a better writer. And she gets into these situations where she has to learn what this is to be better at her job. And it's so well written. It is some of the most gorgeous animation I've ever seen in my life. And I will tell you, the end of it ripped my heart out too. But there's an episode, and everyone talks about this. It's episode 10, where she's a part of this company that writes letters for people, and she goes to these classes and this stuff, and eventually she gets very, very good at it. And she gets shipped out to this family that, the episode starts. You see the mom sitting up in the bed with the blanket over her. She looks a little pale. She's obviously got some kind of sickness, and they're not going to
Right.
tell you what it is. So she gets shipped to there, and then they have this. I'm going to reckon she's maybe 8 years old. No, probably like 5 or 6. Daughter. And daughter has no idea what's going on. She just knows her mom's sick. And Violet has been called, and they don't tell you what Violet is there to write for. You just know that it's for this mom. And I assumed this entire time that she's writing her will. And I was very wrong.
Ooh.
So throughout this whole thing, and they know full well, and the daughter knows full well that her mom is going to not be around much longer, and the mom is spending every last waking moment she has with Violet and not her daughter.
Ugh.
And Violet is coming out of there, and then spending all of her free time when she's not writing, hanging out with this daughter, making sure that she's happy, being the mom for her that her mom can't be right now, and all this stuff. And throughout this, you see the daughter struggling with why her mom is not wanting to, like, I'm going to have no memories of you. Why are you doing this to me? And then eventually, Violet finishes her job, and then the mom passes. And the daughter's confused why she would be so concerned with being with Violet in her final hours and barely spending any time with her. How am I going to remember my mom when she was just stuck in a room writing letters? You then find out it jumps like something amount of years that entire time the mom was writing enough letters to where for the next 50 years the daughter would get a letter on her birthday from her asking about how she's doing at this point in her life and how proud of her she is and these exact things that would
Wow.
be happening at these points. And it just shows this wonderful montage of this girl growing up, having her own family, and looking forward to every year on her birthday when this new letter comes in. And it's just exactly what she needs at that point, and her mom is still there with her for like the good chunk of the rest of her life.
Wow.
And it's so well done in almost
What's this
every
called again?
Violet Evergarden.
Violet Evergarden. Okay.
It's very well done. I'm going to tell you, there's a 3-episode march up to that where every one of them's as emotional as that. I was reviewing it for my YouTube channel. We had to stop because I was crying so much we couldn't continue. It's very good. There's that. There's an OVA, which means just basically a special episode, and then 2 movies. They're all on Netflix,
Okay.
and you can get a watch order. There's few things that I will give a rating above 10. Gurren Lagann to me is one of them, and Violet's another one. Gurren to me is like a 15 out of 10. Violet's like a 13 out of 10.
All right,
It's
Dave Meltzer, break your scale.
I know. Sorry, I'm giving that. Hey, it's in the Tokyo Dome. I can let it go. But yeah, it's you just don't make shows like that.
No.
It's so fucking good. And I normally wouldn't have watched it, but I do a thing on my channel called Fresh Takes where during COVID, me and my buddy who reviewed movies couldn't watch anything because all the theaters were shut down. So I'm like, hey, you haven't seen Gurren Lagann, right? He's like, no. I got an idea. We're both going to I'm going to rewatch it. You're going to watch it. And then I'm going to take you through watching it. And I'm going to ask you some questions and see how you feel about it. And then eventually it got to us doing it with Violet Evergarden and just, oh, it's so good. And that's my buddy suggested it because I normally wouldn't seek out to watch a show like this.
Right.
But now it's broadened my horizons with thing I'm going to like where,
Yeah.
holy shit,
Yeah.
this was good.
It's something. It sounds like a show I got to be in the right headspace to watch. Like it's not a. If you've had a bad day at work, maybe don't watch that one.
Yeah, like
That's at least the vibe I'm getting. You know.
Yeah, you're always gonna have a powerful emotional response each episode. It's either gonna be happy, it's gonna be sad, it's gonna be anger, but it's your learning this stuff with Violet along the way. It's very well done. It's legitimately one of the best media properties I've watched in my life. It's very good.
Yeah. I don't think we can top that. We could do a whole nother episode on anime that we haven't talked about today because there's a lot, there's a lot. I'll give them the honorable mention because who knows when we get back to anime. But I don't know, Yu Yu Hakusho, I love that one. Going back to the Adult Swim, love that. I like the original Pokemon again, basic. But I think that was everybody's watch that show. But still, it doesn't make it any.
I was a Digimon kid. I understand what the basic bitch feeling of it is. I get it.
What's funny is I never really got into Digimon. As a kid, I watched a little bit of it as an adult, but I never, as a kid, I was just like, I prefer Pokemon.
I faltered a little. I had a friend that was very good with Pokemon. I preferred Pokemon games. I liked the Digimon anime more.
Yeah. Oh, the games are better than the anime, and
yeah.
But still, we all watch that. There's 1,000 Gundams out there. I mean,
oh my gosh, yeah. That's one thing also that drags people off of mech animes. Everyone's listening. There are mech animes that do not have nothing but government conspiracies and child soldiers.
Yeah.
I understand if that's why you don't like Gundam, that's fine. But other mech animes don't automatically have that.
Yeah. But still, there's some good Gundam series
Oh,
out there. Yeah.
absolutely,
You
100%.
know,
Iron-Blooded Orphans, Wing.
yeah, I saw Wing and in the Toonami block, but then Mobile Suit with Amuro, I love
Oh
that.
yeah.
And then 0083. 0083 was good because it's like, we spent like a whole series talking, thinking that the Earth Federation were good, and
Maybe
now
not.
now much like probably everybody's country in this world, it's like, yeah, there's times where they're the good guys, but there's probably times where they're not the good guys anymore. Nothing
Oh, absolutely.
nothing walks the straight line at all times. And
Oh no.
if you think your country did walk the straight line at all times, you're probably wrong.
Yeah, you're not paying attention to much else. If
Yeah.
we're gonna give honorable mentions, which we might talk about them later, a Kamega Kill, a group of mercenaries that are trying to root out a horribly corrupted town from the inside, but they'll even openly admit that they're not good people, which is the part that I like. They're like, "You guys are heroes." No, we're bad people. We just don't do as bad at things as they do. And then Soul Eater, it's a 9. It is a 10 out of 10 until like the last 6 episodes, and the ending falls off a cliff. But because they veered off where the manga was at that point, and you punch a demon with courage, and I could go on an hour and a half about how bad that ending is. But like I said, Black Lagoon, I seriously think you would absolutely love Black Lagoon. Revy in Black Lagoon, I have a feeling you would love to death.
Okay.
It's the main female character in it, and then Gate is another one. Gate
Gate.
is a gate opens in Japan and dragons just start coming out of it and like magical creatures. And you found out that this mythical gate that opens in different realities and then it just shuts. So this land behind it is inhabited by random cultures that have had the gate open and let people in over time. So
Okay.
like you get to see Chinese military fighting like dragons and goblins with military vehicles. It's really
Right.
good. It's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
Gate, just GAT. It's basic, but it's good.
Hey, if there's one thing that I can accomplish with this podcast, it's okay to like a basic thing. That doesn't
Oh,
make you
yeah.
less of a fan.
Oh,
If you
absolutely.
just like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z, you aren't any less of a fan of anime is someone like that's a super otaku,
Yeah, exactly.
and don't let anyone say that you are less of a fan.
Because we're
And
gonna do the math here. You could live 3 lifetimes and you're not gonna watch all the anime that's out there.
oh no,
You just can't.
exactly.
So don't think that you need to watch as much as someone else. You like what you like. I
Yeah,
had watched 8 animes until COVID, and now I've watched like 36. You can watch at
right.
any pace you want.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is something we can definitely return to later. But we appreciate you joining us this week. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe, regardless of the platform that you're watching this on or listening to us on. Follow me on social media at facebook.com/athleticgeek89. Or if you want to hear me complain about the point system and the charter system in NASCAR, you can follow me on whatever the app is that Elon Musk owns. And Instagram.com/athleticgeek89.
I always say the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. But you can find me on Instagram if you're into cosplays. I'm going to be doing that a lot more often now that I've actually got some of the time and more cosplays completed. So that at Organoid Zero. Twitter and Blue Sky, I have both of those locked down at Organoid Zero. I mostly just post dumb random jokes or opinions on that or my Twitch links. And then on my YouTube channel at Organoid Zero, like I mentioned in this, the Fresh Take series, some movie reviews, and I myself have a podcast with some friends on there called Zeroing Out, where it's just grab bag of news every week, and we just nail it all down. We mostly talked about Arcane for an hour and a half to list last week, but yeah, that's where you can
Okay.
find me.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Bye.